Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in News Hour. Pakistan and Afghanistan hold peace talks in Doha after Pakistan breaks the ceasefire with airstrikes on Afghanistan. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh warns Pakistan, says every inch of Pakistan is within BrahMos' range, and Operation Sindoor was just a trailer. Iran says it's no longer bound by restrictions on its nuclear program, but it reaffirms that its efforts to maintain talks with world powers still exists. And Dhanteras marks the start of Diwali festivities across India. A fragile ceasefire between Afghanistan and Pakistan collapsed into deadly violence, with Pakistani airstrikes in Paktika province killing 8 civilians, including 3 young Afghan cricketers. Now, the strikes followed a brief 48-hour truce, and these strikes have reignited tensions and drawn sharp condemnation from Kabul. The Qatar capital Doha is hosting urgent peace talks. It's backed by Qatar as well as Saudi Arabia, and they aim to prevent any further escalation. Let's look at this report. The latest border clash between Afghanistan and Pakistan occurred at Paktika province, where Pakistani airstrikes killed 8 civilians, including 3 young Afghan cricketers, Kabir Aga, Sibghatullah and Haroon. The attack came shortly after a brief 48-hour ceasefire and has escalated tensions between the two nations. Pakistan claims it was an act of self-defense.
These infrastructures were used to plan and facilitate terrorist attacks against Pakistan. Our targeted and precise defensive response was not targeted towards the Afghan civilian population. Unlike Taliban forces, we exercise extreme caution in our defensive responses to avoid loss of civilian lives.
The Afghanistan Cricket Board condemned the strike as a cowardly attack and withdrew from an upcoming Tri-Nations series with Pakistan and Sri Lanka in protest. Prominent Afghan players, including Rashid Khan, also denounced the incident, calling it immoral and barbaric. International experts say this is not a religious issue.
Even though this is an ideological regime in Kabul, this kind of enmity between the countries is not a religious matter at this point. And so I don't think that is going to be a problem that can't be overcome.
Doha hosts urgent Pakistan-Afghanistan peace talks after the deadly border clashes. Qatar and Saudi Arabia are backing the efforts to ease tensions. Kabul accuses Pakistan of ceasefire violations, and Islamabad blames the Taliban for sheltering militants. Pakistani authorities claim a suicide bombing near the border had killed 7 Pakistani soldiers. The truce expired with no extension. Bureau Report, DD India. And we're going to be joined by T.C. Raghavan, former Indian High Commissioner to Pakistan. We are just setting up our link with Ambassador Raghavan, and we'll unpack the story with him in greater detail. Ambassador Raghavan has, as we know, is an expert in this region and has served as India's High Commissioner to Pakistan earlier. This unfortunate incident also led to the deaths of 3 young cricketers, and we know that Afghanistan cricket has come a long way in the recent past. It has established itself as one of the key teams, who is playing, especially in the shorter format of the game. They have excellent bowlers, great cricketers in the making. And it's unfortunate that this incident has targeted 3 civilian cricketers as well. We are joined by Ambassador Raghavan. Ambassador Raghavan, thanks for being with us. Now, what does Pakistan aim to achieve with these recent airstrikes? And, are they targeting any specific militant groups, or they're sending some broader message to Kabul?
I don't think these are based so much on precise intelligence as are trying to send a broader signal and act as a form of somewhat crude arm twisting. Essentially, the differences between the Taliban government and the government of Pakistan have continued to grow over the past few years. The efforts made to resolve these differences or to reduce the magnitude of these differences has not succeeded. The government of Pakistan claims that the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan is using Afghanistan as a sanctuary and carrying out major terrorist attacks. The government of Afghanistan says that we have nothing to do with these, and this is an internal issue of Pakistan, which is being blamed on us. The Pakistanis, in an effort to pressurize the Afghans, have used 3 principal tactics. Firstly, they are returning very large number of Afghan refugees who have been living in Pakistan for a number of years to Afghanistan. Secondly, they are closing border crossing points and border checkpoints as a way of using trade as a means of putting pressure on Afghanistan. And finally, they are resorting to military action and kinetic action.
Right. So we saw, Ambassador Raghavan, that, the visuals of our story also showed that there were a lot of people who came out for the funerals. And, there could be outrage, civilian outrage, not that the Taliban can, really matters, doesn't take care too much about it. But the issue is that the civilian casualties can reach public outrage in Afghanistan. Will the Taliban try and balance that with its need to maintain these diplomatic channels with Pakistan?
Well, clearly there is a great deal of outrage in Afghanistan because these Pakistani strikes, including missile and air strikes, have not just been in the border areas, but also deep inside Afghanistan, including in the capital city, Kabul. There have been civilian casualties, but most prominently, a number of young cricketers have been killed. Now, cricket is as popular today in Afghanistan as it has been in India and Pakistan for many years. So, popular outrage is inevitable, and certainly the Taliban government will be under a huge amount of public pressure to respond. There have been responses, including military kinetic responses from the Afghan side on Pakistan also, leading to a number of casualties. So, despite efforts to bring about a ceasefire, I think the situation remains somewhat delicately poised.
Right.
But it is also clear that these differences, although this is perhaps the most intense turn such fighting has taken, these differences are not new. And from time to time, Pakistan, Afghanistan differences in the past also have arisen, but they have managed to find a way of containing.
Okay.
So we have to see.
Right. Ambassador Raghavan, also Qatar and Saudi Arabia, can they effectively mediate? You did say that these are not new, these problems. They are 2 ideologically opposed regimes, we can see. What leverage does Qatar and Saudi Arabia hold over Afghanistan?
I think they have a certain amount of leverage over both countries, but the extent of that leverage should not be exaggerated. I think the larger point is that finally both the Afghans and the Pakistanis know that these clashes and these strikes and these kinetic actions are essentially tactical in nature. They will not change the basic equations which exist between the 2 countries, and they will have to find a way of managing these differences. What is of significance, of course, is how sharply Pakistan's relations with its neighboring countries are deteriorating, and how much the issue of terrorism is figuring in each of these relationships, although from different points of view.
Right.
Pakistan needs to introspect
Okay.
about how.
And will the Doha mediators be looking, to put in place a longer-term ceasefire to prevent future broader escalations? And is international pressure enough to get the parties to commit? And also, what happens if the talks fail, and how will it impact India?
Well, there is no direct impact on India because these clashes are taking place on Pakistan's western borders. That is some distance away from India. The point is that Pakistan is accusing Afghanistan of harboring terrorists while it faces the same charges by India. It is therefore incumbent upon that country to introspect about how it has used terrorist groups in the past and how these terrorist groups have become a real milestone around its neck now. I don't think international pressures or third countries can play a role in this beyond bringing about a ceasefire, because in the end, it is for both these countries to recognize the source of the difficulties and the source of the differences, and then try to find a way of containing these differences.
Right, we leave it there. Thank you very much, Ambassador TCA Raghavan, former Indian High Commissioner to Pakistan. Thank you for unpacking that story for us. Now we'll move on. In fact, still to come here on DD India News Hour. There's a massive fire at Dhaka's Hazrat Shah Jalal Airport in the cargo zone, and flights were disrupted as a result. South Koreans are returning from Cambodia and they are facing investigation of online scams. Israel returns 15 Palestinian bodies to Gaza under a US brokered ceasefire deal. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. A major fire broke out in the cargo area of Dhaka's Hazrat Shah Jalal International Airport today, forcing a full suspension of flight operations. According to the Fire Service and Civil Defense of Bangladesh, a total of 32 firefighting units, including teams from the Air Force and Civil Aviation Authority, were deployed to the scene. And 14 units had already engaged, and 18 more were en route at the time we received this report. All aircraft were confirmed safe, but the cause of the fire and the extent of the damage remained unknown at the time that this report came to us. Emergency crews were working hard to contain the blaze, and the flights were on hold until further notice. Iran said on Saturday that it was no longer bound by the restrictions on its nuclear program as a landmark 10-year deal between it and the world powers expired. Though Tehran, they are reiterating their commitment to diplomacy. Let's take a look at Iran's nuclear agreement, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action.
Iran said on Saturday that it was no longer bound by restrictions on its nuclear program as a landmark 10-year deal between it and world powers expired, though Tehran reiterated its commitment to diplomacy. So let's have a look at the Iran nuclear deal. The Iran nuclear agreement, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, is a landmark accord reached between Iran and several world powers, including the United States, in July 2015. The JCPOA, which went into effect in January 2016, imposes restrictions on Iran's civilian nuclear enrichment program. At the heart of negotiations with Iran were the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council: China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States, and Germany, collectively known as the P5+1. The European Union also took part. President Donald Trump had withdrawn the United States from the deal in 2018. Iran agreed not to produce either the highly enriched uranium or the plutonium that could be used in a nuclear weapon. It also took steps to ensure that its Fordow, Natanz, and Arak facilities pursued only civilian work, including medical and industrial research. Iran agreed to eventually implement a protocol that would allow inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency, the United Nations nuclear watchdog, unfettered access to its nuclear facilities and potentially to undeclared sites. The EU, United Nations, and United States all committed to lifting their nuclear-related sanctions on Iran. The parties agreed to lift an existing UN ban on Iran's transfer of conventional weapons and ballistic missiles after 5 years if the IAEA certified that Iran only engaged in civilian nuclear activity. Bureau Report, DD India.
A group of 64 South Koreans held in Cambodia over alleged online scam operations arrived home on Saturday, with many expected to face investigations. DD India's Adamya Mishra reports.
64 South Koreans who were detained in Cambodia arrived back home on Saturday. Some returnees wore caps and masks and were escorted by police, while their hands appeared to be cuffed. A chartered flight was sent by Seoul with a task force to help its nationals lured into working in scam compounds and secure the release of those held against their will. The team, led by South Korea's Vice Foreign Minister Kim Jina, arrived in Cambodia on Wednesday to look for a resolution to the involvement of South Koreans in the complex scam industry. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet had met with South Korea's Vice Foreign Minister Kim Jina to discuss issues regarding job scams that resulted in the student's death. South Korea has issued a Code Black travel ban for parts of Cambodia. A Code Black ban is the most serious travel ban with orders for citizens to leave. Meanwhile, United Nations estimates that scam centers which have emerged in South Asia since the COVID-19 pandemic generate billions of dollars in revenue for criminal networks every year, targeting victims around the world through phone and online scams. Adamya Mishra's report for DD India.
In a cordial White House meeting, the U.S. President Donald Trump pressed the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to pursue peace with Russia, advocating for an immediate ceasefire at the current battle lines before the upcoming Budapest meeting with Putin. Zelenskyy's push for Tomahawk missiles met Trump's emphasis on mediation, overshadowing their productive 2-hour talk on security guarantees. Here's the report.
US President Donald Trump urged Ukrainian President Zelenskyy to negotiate peace with Russia on Friday. After a cordial White House meeting, Donald Trump pushed for an immediate ceasefire, even at current battle lines, ahead of his planned talks with Putin in Budapest. In a 2-hour meeting described by both as cordial and productive, Zelenskyy pressed for the long-range weapons to strike deep into Russian territory, arguing they would apply constant pressure on Moscow's war machine. Trump's move to re-engage with Putin has frustrated Zelenskyy and some European allies in the past. It has cast a shadow on Trump's otherwise cordial exchange with his Ukrainian counterpart.
Well, let's see what happens. I mean, what if? I think he will. I think that President Putin wants to end the war, or I wouldn't be talking this way. I think he wants to end the war. I spoke to him yesterday for 2.5 hours. We went through a lot of details. He wants to get it ended. I think that President Zelenskyy wants to get it ended. Now we have to get it done.
Outside the White House, Zelensky called his meeting with Trump productive and said they discussed security guarantees.
We trust United States. We trust President that he wants to finish this war, and it's difficult. It's very tough solution. It's understandable why. I think that Russians afraid about tomahawks, really afraid because it's a strong weapon, and they know what we have, what kind of weapon we have, our production, and they understand that combination with tomahawks, because we speak about it. We don't speak about tomahawks like tomahawks. We need combination, and that's why they're afraid of this combination. They understand what we can do.
Meanwhile, on Truth Social, Trump urged both sides to stop the killing and make a deal, adding enough blood has been shed, let both claim victory, let history decide. The session cast a shadow from Trump's planned Budapest summit, with Putin in 2 weeks separate meetings as these two leaders do not like each other. While US President did not rule out giving the long-range Tomahawk missiles as sought by Zelensky, Trump did appear cool to the prospect as he looked forward to a meeting with Putin in Hungary in the coming weeks.
Tomahawks are very dangerous weapons. They're incredible weapons. If you like warfare, it's one of the most accurate. You know, we hit 30 Tomahawks in Iran after the B-2s did their damage. We sort of gave it a little capper with 30 Tomahawks from a submarine, quite far away actually, but they're an amazing weapon. They're a very powerful weapon, but they're a very dangerous weapon.
Zelensky, realistic about escalation risks, has agreed to keep missile talks private and prioritized air defenses and joint weapons production. He later hailed a productive call with European leaders including UK PM Keir Starmer and Finland's Alexander Stubb, reaffirming support for security guarantees and a ceasefire. Bureau Report, TD India.
Thousands across the United States are set to join what's called the No Kings protests. It's happening this Saturday. They are opposing President Donald Trump's leadership amid an ongoing government shutdown. Over 2,700 rallies across all 50 U.S. states and even Canada now. They mark the largest protest wave since Trump took office. The No Kings movement targets what it calls authoritarian policies, and the Republicans have dismissed these events as anti-American. A 3-week government shutdown has deepened various tensions between the White House, the Congress, and even the courts. Speaking at the GST Bachat Utsav in New Delhi, the Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal, he gave a brief update on the Indo-US trade talks. And he said that discussions are progressing smoothly, but there's no fixed timeline. The focus, he said, is on safeguarding the interests of farmers and MSMEs. Take a look at what he said.
US tariffs कब तक good news आएगी? मुझे लगता है कि बड़े सौहार्दपूर्ण वातावरण में बातचीत चल रही है और मैंने पहले कई बार कहा है कि कभी कोई डेडलाइन के आधार पर फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट या ट्रेड नेगोशिएशंस नहीं होती है। भारत के किसानों का, भारत के मछुआरों का, भारत के एमएसएमई सेक्टर का जब तक देश हितों को पूरी तरीके से हम संभाले नहीं, तब तक कोई एग्रीमेंट किया नहीं जाता। बहुत अच्छी तरीके से बातचीत चल रही है, बातचीत जारी है और जब निर्णय पे आएंगे तब आपको जरूर अवश्य सूचना दे देंगे।
Israel returned the bodies of 15 Palestinians to Gaza on Saturday, bringing the total number handed over to 135. Under a ceasefire deal brokered by the US President Donald Trump, Israel was to hand over the bodies of 15 Palestinians for every deceased Israeli returned. Earlier on Saturday morning, a convoy carrying the remains of a deceased hostage returned by Hamas arrived at the National Center of Forensic Medicine in Tel Aviv. This was the 10th deceased hostage that Israel has received out of 28 bodies held in Gaza. Citing technical problems, Hamas stated that it needed heavy machinery and excavating equipment to expedite the process of locating the bodies buried under rubble. But Israel insists that Hamas knows the whereabouts of the hostages' bodies and said that the group was running out of time. China and the United States agreed on Saturday to conduct another round of trade negotiations in the coming week as the two world's biggest economies seek to avoid another damaging tit-for-tat tariff battle. Beijing's announcements of strict controls on its rare earth industry last week had prompted the U.S. President Donald Trump, in fact, to threaten 100% tariffs on Chinese imports and also to consider cancelling his upcoming meeting with President Xi Jinping in South Korea during the APEC summit. But despite the rising tensions, both sides signaled a willingness to engage. The Chinese state media reported that the Vice Premier He Lifeng and the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent held a candid and constructive phone conversation on Saturday morning, agreeing to resume trade talks soon. Bessent later described the exchange on social media as frank and detailed, confirming plans for an in-person meeting next week to continue negotiations. A UAE humanitarian ship has departed for Gaza carrying 7,200 tons of aid under Operation Chivalrous Night III. And this shipment, it includes 4,680 tons of food, 2,160 tons of shelter items like tents and winter clothing, and 360 tons, 360 tons of medical supplies and additional 4 water tanks. So the relief effort has been directed by the President of the UAE with the aim to ease the suffering of the people of Gaza. UAE charities and aid groups too have come together to deliver urgent support, reinforcing the nation's values of solidarity and swift response. In Kenya, a helicopter carrying the coffin of the Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga departed from the stadium in Kisumu on Saturday, where vast crowds gathered to honor their beloved politician. Odinga had died of a suspected heart attack on Wednesday, triggering a massive outpouring of grief across the country, especially in western Kenya, where his Luo tribe is dominant. Let's take a look now at other stories making news from around the world. People dressed in samurai armor and other traditional attire took part in a parade at a shrine in Tochigi Prefecture, north of Tokyo on Saturday. The parade is known as the Hyaku Mono Zorai Shenin Musha Gyo Restu, and it's held every spring and autumn at the Nikotoshugu Shrine, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Taiwan's main opposition party, the Kuomintang, elected the former lawmaker Cheng Li-wun as its new leader on Saturday, who pledged to ensure peace with China. Cheng, who does not take over immediately, won the leadership election at a time of rising military and political tensions with Beijing. The Argentinian President Javier Milei attended a campaign event in Buenos Aires on Saturday ahead of a crucial legislative election. So this event, in fact, was marked by scuffles between supporters as well as protesters. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. A stern warning to Pakistan: every inch of the neighboring country's territory lies within the range of BrahMos.
Prepare for the brightest night of the year. Story of Diwali and its diversity. It's time for the Festival of Lights.
Faster, smarter, better. That's often the promise that comes with modern technology, but all of it comes at a risk.
To deal with this kind of mismatch, we have created a master plan based on population projections up to 2055.
The main reason for looking for dry areas is both
an efficiency reason, and an avoidance of corrosion. We decided that this cannot go on forever. Something needs to be done. And we also were very certain that only technology option will be the best option, because human intervention has several limitations.
The big advantage is you don't have to go back to the start of the chain like mining iron ore.
Eisenerz des Anfangs, und
you can reuse materials that have already been processed.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. Pakistan and Afghanistan hold peace talks in Doha after Pakistan breaks the ceasefire with airstrikes on Afghanistan. Rajnath Singh warns Pakistan, says that every inch of Pakistan is within BrahMos' range, and Operation Sindoor was just a trailer. Iran says no longer bound by restrictions on its nuclear program, but reaffirms its efforts to maintain talks with world powers. And Dhanteras marks the start of Diwali festivities across India. Well, in a stern warning to Pakistan, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that every inch of the neighbouring country's territory lies within the range of the BrahMos, and what happened during Operation Sindoor was just a trailer. Rajnath Singh described BrahMos as a symbol of India's rising strength and also a proof of India's strategic confidence. Raghav Kumar Jha reports.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Saturday warned Pakistan, saying every inch of India's neighbour lies within the range of BrahMos missiles, even as he praised Operation Sindoor and called it merely a trailer. Defence Minister's remarks came as he and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath flagged off the first batch of indigenously produced BrahMos missiles in Lucknow's aerospace facility.
देश को यह विश्वास है कि हमारे जो विरोधी हैं, एडवर्सरीज हैं, अब ब्रह्मोस से बच नहीं पाएंगे। यह देश को पूरा भरोसा है। पाकिस्तान की जहां तक बात है, तो अब उसकी एक-एक इंच जमीन हमारी ब्रह्मोस की पहुंच में है।
Defence Minister asserted that India's defence capabilities now serve as a powerful deterrent. He said BrahMos is not just a missile, but a symbol of country's growing indigenous capabilities.
ब्रह्मोस सिर्फ एक मिसाइल नहीं है, बल्कि वह भारत की बढ़ती हुई स्वदेशी क्षमताओं का यह प्रतीक है। एक तरफ इसमें ट्रेडिशनल वारहेड हैं, एडवांस गाइडेड सिस्टम्स हैं, तो दूसरी तरफ यह सुपरसोनिक गति से लंबी दूरी तक मार कर सकता है।
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said the country is making its mark in the defence manufacturing sector, and many countries are now interested in technical association with India. He said that recently BrahMos team has signed contract with two countries worth 4,000 crore rupees. BrahMos has a traditional warhead, an advanced guided system, and can strike up to 290 kilometers with supersonic speed throughout the flight, thus ensuring shorter flight time and lower dispersion of targets, faster engagement time, and non-interception by any known weapon system in the world. The combination of speed, accuracy and power makes BrahMos one of the world's best systems. Raghav Kumar Jha reports for DD India.
And Dr. Atul Rane, the former MD and CEO of BrahMos Aerospace, is joining us. Thank you very much, Dr. Rane. Now,
Namaskar, Mark.
Namaskar. How does BrahMos missiles' speed and precision, how does it enhance India's deterrence against regional threats like Pakistan and China?
Well, as covered by the correspondent, it is a supersonic missile, and it is the only supersonic cruise missile as of now in the Indian Armed Forces as well as almost all over the world. There are literally no air defenses which can bring down the BrahMos missile. That's it. That gives you the reason why this is so important and will be the answer for every single problem that we may have in the near neighborhood.
And in what ways does BrahMos reflect India's, growing self-reliance and also strategic autonomy?
Of course. When we started the BrahMos program 26 years back, the Indian content in the missile as per se was extremely small. It was only about 6 to 7%, almost 8. Today, the indigenous content in BrahMos is capable of being as high as 86 to 90%. This shows that we have grown not only with the indigenous content, the R&D which has come in, but the capability of the defense industry to produce what is state of the art in the world today. What more could be said if in this sort of space of time we have a world beater with us?
Indeed. Indeed. So that definitely helps us with our strategic autonomy. But what are the implications then for export, let's say, BrahMos export deals, the influence on regional geopolitics?
Yeah. You see, first of all, BrahMos can be exported only to the countries which are acceptable to the government of India, friendly foreign countries. That's the first thing. And also, since it started as a joint venture and still is a joint venture, it should be acceptable to both the governments, the government of India and the government of Russia. Well, the whole situation in the geopolitical situation in our region, that is Southern Asia and Southeast Asia, there is no nation which is not agreeable to both our countries, especially looking at the angles of peaceful operations in the Indian Ocean region. That's the whole gamut of play here. And there are a lot of countries lined up. The Philippines has already placed an order on BrahMos, which is being executed, is in the process of being executed. And there are a few other countries lined up. I'm sure the news would come out from the top management. We are seeing them on the screen right now. They will be coming out with an announcement within another month or so about another couple of countries signing an order for BrahMos. Yes, what happened in the last 5 to 6 months, that has raised it was an automatic advertisement for BrahMos. And it's not only the Southeast Asia, the world is looking at this missile, or not only this missile, but almost all Indian arms.
Indeed, Dr. Rane, also, you did say that it's a supersonic missile and that's the technological superiority we have. But what is the battlefield advantage then as well? If we look at it, I did ask you with regard to the threat perception of Pakistan and China, but in a general context, because we are talking about export now.
Yeah. You see, what happens is because it's supersonic, this time to target, time from launch to the time to hit the target is extremely small as compared to a conventional subsonic cruise missile or any subsonic missile. What happens is, since it is supersonic, it's difficult to track. And BrahMos, with its inherent property, is very difficult to track with the radar, being sea skimming, flying at a very low altitude. And even if at the last moment or at some moment of time it is tracked by a radar, by an enemy radar or a target's radar, they will have such a short reaction time to try and shoot down the BrahMos missile. They will have a maximum 5 to 6, maybe 8 seconds to shoot down a supersonic missile coming in.
Right.
And that's not enough time to actually, you may be able to pop off one with luck, with hope. Right. But if you have got 2 or 3 of them coming in, sorry, your defenses are saturated.
Okay, indeed. Finally, you did talk about Operation Sindoor, but what message does Operation Sindoor and Rajnath and the Defense Minister's remarks today send about India's readiness to respond to any, provocations, cross-border or otherwise?
In the run-up to Op Sindoor, it was very clear and clearly asked and talked about on many news channels. And today, Honorable Raksha Mantri ji has only echoed the whole sentiment that we have within the scientific community, and especially those who have worked on BrahMos. There is no place for that nation to hide. Every single inch is actually can be targeted by BrahMos alone. Leave aside the other weapons we have.
Indeed. We leave it there. Thank you very much, Dr. Atul Rane, former MD and CEO of BrahMos Aerospace. Thank you very much for joining us. Namaskar. And let's now take a look at the other stories making news now. Well, thousands of diyas lit up the Kartavya Path in Delhi. The Delhi government has organized a grand Diwali event. This was taking place on Saturday today. The event drew large crowds. They gathered to witness the festive spectacle. The Chief Minister of Delhi, Rekha Gupta, was there along with members of her cabinet, and she attended the celebration and also extended Diwali greetings to the people of Delhi. The treasury of the Banke Bihari temple in Uttar Pradesh's Mathura, it was opened on Saturday. This is after 54 years on the occasion of Dhanteras, with all necessary arrangements and strict security protocols in place. The event was held in the presence of the authorized officials adhering to the court-mandated process. The reopening followed a Supreme Court order permitting access only to members of a high-powered committee constituted for this purpose. The Assam Chief Minister Hemanta Biswa Sarma held a detailed discussion in Dispur through video conference with several senior officials of the state regarding the statewide observance of the death anniversary of the Bharat Ratna, Dr. Bhupen Hazarika. The Chief Minister stated that the state government is celebrating the birth centenary of the legendary singer Dr. Bhupen Hazarika with a year-long program through a series of events. The Railways Minister Ashwini Vaishnav inspected the New Delhi railway station on Saturday, and he reviewed the passenger arrangements during the festive season. He said that the station saw a record footfall of around 75,000 passengers, enhanced facilities like expanded holding areas, additional toilets and more ticket counters. They have improved passenger movement and security, allowing only ticketed passengers entry.
करीब 75,000 पैसेंजर्स आज आए न्यू दिल्ली स्टेशन पे, और ये जो बहुत बड़ा होल्डिंग एरिया बनाया है और जो लार्ज नंबर ऑफ टॉयलेट्स, लार्ज नंबर ऑफ टिकट काउंटर्स और पैसेंजर्स को बेसिकली बाहर लेके आए हैं, प्लेटफॉर्म से बाहर कंप्लीट ये एरिया बना है, इसका अच्छा बेनिफिट मिल रहा है। आप अगर देखेंगे तो बहुत ही सिस्टमेटिक तरीके से पैसेंजर्स का इसमें मूवमेंट है और बिना टिकट लिए कोई अंदर नहीं जा पाता है, तो इसका अच्छा बेनिफिट मिल रहा है।
Well, still to come here on DD India News Hour. India is going to take on Australia in the ODI opener at Perth. It's set for Sunday, and the big guns in India are returning. Jyoti Sureka Vennam creates a record. She creates history actually at the World Cup final. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Diwali gift, major GST reforms branded as Next Gen GST or 2.0, are benefiting consumers nationwide. The government highlighted the GST Bachat Utsav or the savings festival ahead of Diwali on Saturday, and the revamped GST slash rates on 375 items, boosting festive spending and injecting 2 lakh crore rupees into households. Well, let's take a look at this report.
Consumers across the country are benefiting from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's major GST reforms branded as Next Gen GST 2.0 implemented on September 22, 2025. On Saturday, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, along with Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and Minister for Electronics and Information Technology Ashwini Vaishnav, addressed a joint press conference on the GST Budget Utsav or GST Savings Festival ahead of Diwali.
So you know, from 12 to 5, the rate reduction has happened. And from 28 to 18, rate reduction has happened on largely most of the goods. But in some cases, 1 or 2 went this way or that way. But 54 such daily use items we've been closely monitoring. Not in one has the tax not been, the benefit has not been passed. We are convinced that on every such item, the benefits are being passed on to the consumer.
Department of Revenue is closely monitoring 54 selected products during the Next Gen GST transition. Benefits of the GST reforms have been fully passed on to consumers across all these items. Effective from September 22, the revamped GST system slashed rates on 375 items from kitchenware and clothing to TVs, fridges, scooters and cars, reducing tax slabs from 12 to 28% to 5% and 18%, injecting 2 lakh crore rupees into households. Navratri season saw record-breaking electronic sales with a 20 to 25% increase over last year, and over 10% growth is projected in overall consumption.
Electronics manufacturing is now growing at a double-digit CAGR. Very rapidly it is expanding. And today electronics manufacturing is giving employment to about 25 lakh persons directly. Because of the GST reforms, consumption will be significantly increasing, and quite likely, it's very likely that the consumption will increase more than 10% this year.
Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said that income tax exemptions and GST 2.0 have boosted consumer confidence, driving strong economic momentum this festive season.
Even in August 25, after the Honorable Prime Minister announced that from Diwali you will have lower GST on almost every item, despite that our August trade in goods and services was 9.1% higher.
On September 3, the GST Council approved the overhaul replacing the previous 4-rate structure, 5%, 12%, 18% and 28% with a simplified 2-rate system of 5% and 18%. Ravinder Chauhan's report for DD India.
Mumbai witnessed bustling markets in jewellery stores as people flocked to buy gold, silver and other precious metals on the occasion of Dhanteras, marking the first day of Diwali celebrations. The city's atmosphere was brimming with excitement and festive spirit as shoppers sought auspicious purchases to usher in prosperity. With glittering displays and vibrant decorations, Mumbai's markets reflected the joy and anticipation that accompany the start of the 5-day Diwali festival.
Well, it's that time of the year when the entire city, along with the state, is shining. Yes, it's Dhanteras, the first day of Diwali, and people at Zaveri Bazaar, which is popular for purchasing the precious metals.
Today being auspicious day, Dhanteras, people buy bullion jewellery, coin and silver jewellery. So for them it is a very good. We have seen at the shop, I came at 9 o'clock. I have seen the customer at this time.
The shift has happened, and even the younger generation is now investing in gold, because we've seen with the geopolitical shifts or the tensions, the gold prices are rising. What are you buying this Dhanteras, and what is the significance of buying today?
I'm buying a gold chain because it's Dhanteras and you should buy something in gold. It's auspicious and it's counted as luck. Buy something in wealth to increase your wealth.
Dhanteras says to be very good and auspicious day to buy gold for your good luck, for your Diwali, welcoming Mata at your place and Lakshmi. Basically, when you buy gold, you invite Lakshmi to your house.
Younger generation especially are now wanting to buy bullion because they see it as a form of investment, and that is why a major buying is seen today. With camera person Kapil Maske, this is Shyama Mishra for DD India, Mumbai.
You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get you the sports news now. And Jyoti Sureka Vennam on Saturday became the first Indian woman compound archer to win a medal at the World Cup final. She clinched the bronze medal with a flawless performance in Nanjing. The reigning Asian Games champion was at her imperious best against the world number 2, Ella Gibson of Great Britain, shooting 15 perfect arrows to prevail 150 against 145 and secure her medium podium, her maiden podium finish. This is at the tournament. The 8-time archer World Cup season finale saw the 29-year-old Indian begin with a confident win over Alexis Ruiz of the United States in the quarterfinals. India will be facing Australia in Perth in the first ODI. It's going to happen on Sunday, and all eyes will be on Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli making their return. Shubman Gill is leading the side. Let's take a look at this report.
All eyes are on Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma as Team India gears up to face Australia in the first ODI at the Optus Stadium in Perth on Sunday. Yes, the legends are back after leading India to a memorable Champions Trophy win earlier this year. Both Kohli and Rohit returned to international cricket, but this time under a new captain. Young Shubman Gill takes charge as India's new ODI skipper, stepping into big shoes and leading a team that's now looking ahead to the 2027 ODI World Cup. For him, this series is about shaping the future, but for Kohli and Rohit, it could be one last dance down under. Having retired from the Test and T20s, their form and fitness in this series will be crucial. And remember, both have a superb record under down under. India will miss Jasprit Bumrah, who has been rested for the T20 series after the ODI series, but that opens the door for young quicks Harshit Rana and Nitish Kumar Reddy to shine. Mohammad Siraj is back after a year, while Hardik Pandya out with injury. KL Rahul and Dhruv Jurid are the wicket-keeping option for Team India, while Yashasvi Jaiswal and Shreyas Iyer bring in solid batting form. Now talking about Australia, they are going through a rebuilding phase with Steve Smith, Glenn Maxwell and Marcus Stoinis retired from ODIs. The Aussies have lost their last series, managed just 2 wins in their last 10 matches. India, on the other hand, are flying high. Champions Trophy winners, unbeaten in their last 8 ODIs, and currently the #1 team in the world. Their last ODI defeat came more than a year ago, and that is Perth. India never played an ODI here, and surprisingly, Australia have never won at this ground, losing all 3 matches so far. Fast bowlers dominate this venue, so expect plenty of pace and bounce under the lights. So it's all set. A fresh chapter in the India-Australia rivalry, a young captain leading a powerhouse team, 2 legends facing one big moment, and a ground where anything can happen. Can India extend their dominance, or will Australia finally break the Perth jinx? We will find out on Sunday when India and Australia go head-to-head in what promises to be a cracking contest.
Well, after 2 losses, the Indian women's cricket team, they are in a tricky position in the ongoing ICC Women's World Cup. With 2 wins and 2 losses in 4 games, the upcoming clash against a strong English side is a must-win for the women in blue. Here's the report.
In what could be a crucial encounter with the decisive power of steering India into the semi-final of the ongoing Women's Cricket World Cup, Team India is now all set to face Team England at Indoor's Holkar Stadium on the eve of Diwali in the ODI format. Team England remains unbeaten so far, with 1 match being abandoned due to rain, whereas Team India started on a good note, beating Sri Lanka and then Pakistan, but eventually lost to South Africa and then Australia in the league stage encounters so far.
हम लोग 2 मैच हारे ज़रूर हैं, लेकिन हम लोगों का मोरल काफ़ी अच्छा है, क्योंकि 2 मैच हम लोगों ने स्टार्टिंग के काफ़ी अच्छे गए थे। तो हम लोग ऑलवेज़ पॉजिटिव माइंडसेट से जाते हैं और हमेशा पॉजिटिव जो भी हमने एज अ टीम किया हुआ होता है उसके बारे में ज़्यादा फोकस करते हैं।
If we look at the head-to-head, India women and England women played 129 international matches across all formats, out of which India women won 50 matches against England women, whereas England won 66 out of 129 matches. In the ODI format, India and England have played 79 matches, out of which India won 36 and England secured victory in 41 matches, with 2 ending in no result. The high voltage clash between India and England is now all set to take place at the iconic Holkar Stadium situated in Indore, which has the potential of turning out to be a high scoring game. The Holkar Stadium is known for its flat pitch surface that allows for high scoring matches at the venue. Batters enjoy batting on a surface with even bounce, a fast outfield, and shorter boundaries, which makes it good for scoring some quick runs. While Team England boasts a formidable unit led by Nat Skiver Brunt, Sophie Ecclestone, and Charlie Dean, on the other hand, Team India's Smriti Mandhana, Deepti Sharma, and Sneh Rana can really prove to be the guns to rely on under big match pressure, as batting deep remains the key to unlock a semi-final spot. The top run scorer for India women in the ICC Women's World Cup 2025 is Pratika Rawal, with 180 runs to her name, and she is just 18 runs away from reaching 1,000 runs in Women's ODI. The top wicket taker for India women in the ICC Women's World Cup 2025 is Deepti Sharma, with 9 scabs under her belt, is just a wicket away from creating a record of 150 wickets mark in ODI format and become the second Indian bowler to do so.
In run-up to the semi-final spot, this match becomes really crucial for Team India because it is not only about defeating Team England but also about securing a spot in the semi-finals of the ongoing Women's Cricket World Cup. Whether Team India will add that 6th bowling option and how the batting and the bowling unit are going to perform and roar specifically against Team England at this particular pitch remains to be seen. We'll get you all the latest news updates, stats and facts straight from ground zero. With camera person Ashish, this is Deepika reporting for DD India from Indore.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. For those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. Available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn from all of us here in Delhi. Thank you very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.